Welcome to our channel. Click subscribe button for more content like this. Today we will share the story of Anatoly Moskvin, a Russian man who mummified the bodies of dozens of girls and women. Anatoly Moskvin loved history and knew 13 languages. He had traveled to countless countries throughout his life. He used to be a lecturer at a university in Russia and occasionally worked as a journalist. He was a self-proclaimed expert on cemeteries in Moscow and called himself a necropolis. For this research, he walked around 752 cemeteries in Russia between 2005 to 2007. He has never driven a vehicle. He slept in abandoned farms and cemeteries. When the police saw this strange man in the cemeteries, they questioned him about his medical condition, but his identity as an academic prevented him from getting into trouble. A colleague of his called this work invaluable. His studies were generally on linguistics and history, but it is known that he was also very interested in Moscow cemeteries, funeral ceremonies, and death. His library consisted of 50,000 books and articles. Anatoly Moskvin was single. He never married and lived with his family. He did not smoke or drink alcohol. Now let's come to the point where things took a dark turn. On November 2, 2011, police began investigating grave thefts in the Nizhny Novgorod region. It was determined that 26 bodies were stolen from cemeteries. Investigations and security footage led them to Anatoly Moskvin. Police knocked on the door of Moskvin's house. When they entered Anatoly Moskvin's room, they were shocked. Moskvin's room was filled with dolls. There were 26 dolls. Later police discovered the terrible truth. These were not dolls, but bodies taken from the graves and stuffed into dolls. Moskvin was arrested on the same day under suspicion of digging 150 graves, even though 26 bodies were found in his house. When Moskvin's house was searched, gravestones, dirty shovels, a book called How to Make Dolls, and a map showing all the cemeteries of Russia were found. After his arrest, Anatoly agreed to cooperate with the police. He said he had been doing this for about 10 years. And that his family had no idea about his illegal activity, as he usually worked out of town. His parents believed making dolls was his hobby. Before the trial, he was brought to a psychological clinic where he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Moskvin was going to be tried for grave plundering, but he was deemed unfit to stand trial and was diagnosed with treatment in a clinic. He received clinical treatment for 3 years and was diagnosed as still unfit to stand trial. The latest news about his clinical treatment was published in January 2019. Anatoly is still under treatment. His crimes raise many questions. The most important of them is why Moskvin did this. This question was asked to Anatoly after his detention. Moskvin's answer makes it clear why he was diagnosed as schizophrenic. Moskvin said he had a great feeling of pity for the dead children. He was sorry for them and believed that one day they would be resurrected through magic or science. He was an expert on urban culture and believed that spiritual people communicated with the dead by sleeping in the cemetery. That's why he spent 2 years visiting graves in Russia. While in sleep, he would talk to bodies that communicated with him verbally. He claimed that if they wanted to return, he would exhume all the bodies with their own consent. As he got older, it became difficult to sleep in the cemetery. So he started taking the bodies out and carrying them home, turning them into dolls and sleeping with them in his room. He thought that they would be more comfortable in a warm home. After that, he brought the bodies home and turned them into dolls. In his own words, they were mummified. According to Moskvin, he knew that he had committed a crime, but he said that he could no longer ignore the screams of the children, and that saving the children was more important. He said that he always wanted a daughter and even asked his family for permission to adopt, but they refused. He said that the girls' bodies he turned into dolls were like his own girls and denied any sexual accusations. He has not yet been sued for any sexual crimes. Anatoly claimed he talks to bodies, sings songs to them, and takes care of them. He even organized birthday parties for them. In an article he wrote before his arrest, Anatoly Moskvin said that he started living in the land of the dead and death when he was a child. When he was 9 to 10 years old, he happened to come across the funeral of an 11-year-old girl. The girl's family took Moskvin and forced him to kiss the dead body. It is possible to say that this event deeply affected his psychology. Families of his victims demand that Moskvin be punished, and all his friends have cut off communication with him. His family continues to live their lives in isolation. One of his victims' mothers said Moskvin brought fear and hatred into her life. "I can't even bear the thought of him being free. Neither my family nor other families believe that exhumed souls can rest in peace. He should be kept under surveillance. I insist on life imprisonment," she said. During the trial, Moskvin admitted that he exhumed 44 bodies. He said to the families, "You abandoned your daughters by force. I brought them home and took care of them." Moskvin's treatment is still underway. He is in his 50s now. Doctors believe his condition is getting better. Moskvin has allegedly told the authorities not to bury the bodies in his house deep in the ground, as he will dig them up again after his release.